All right, happy Friday. Hey everybody, it is Finance Friday time. I know we normally do it at 4, but today at noon because I have a very special guest and we're up in Tampa. We are up on the 41st floor.
41st floor?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm Amy Novakovich, Nova Wealth Management. Follow me on Twitter at Novakovich Amy. And also go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and follow us on, hey Johnny, our podcast, the Nova Wealth Show. There's the audio version on iTunes, and then we also have the Wooditch Network as well that the video version will be on. And we'll be doing a podcast later, so please join me for that. So I have David Lisko, commercial litigation attorney with Holland & Knight here out of Tampa here with me today, and sports agent. You're a man of many trades.
That's right.
So today we're going to get into not only different experiences that David has been through with businesses, but what not to do in your business to make sure that we can help you not go broke, to conquer all the different situations to help save and protect your money, which ultimately is the whole goal of this show. So I'm going to let David say a little bit about himself and his firm. Like, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into this business.
So I played football at Ohio State in undergrad, and like everyone else, I thought I'd play in the NFL. And then I found out very quickly the NFL did not want me. So I had to come up with a plan B, which was to go to law school. So I attended law school at Ohio State.
It's a good plan B.
Yeah, and kind of had a bad taste in my mouth about sports and wanted to transition to something else. And got into law school, and we had mock interviews.
OHIO.
That's right, yeah. We had, actually, there's tons of Ohio State people down in South Florida, in Tampa, Naples area, tons of Buckeyes. So I get into law school, and they had mock interviews, and you went and you interviewed with someone in the community, and they were going to grade you on your interviewing skills and so prepare you to interview with law firms or whoever. So I go to my mock interview, and it was with the general counsel of the Columbus Blue Jacket NHL team, and I go to my mock interview. I take it very seriously. I prepare, went to the interview, and after the interview's over, he looks at me and says, you seem great. I think we have a good rapport. Why don't you work for me? So I got a real job all through law school working for the Columbus Blue Jacket NHL team through law school. So that was a really interesting kind of dive into sports law.
That is an interesting way to get into it.
Yeah, and to know what he was doing. So, and through law school, everyone always told me, go become a real lawyer. Become a real lawyer, and then do what you want to specialize in, whatever that might be.
Define real lawyer, as in there's not real lawyers?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that go to law school and never practice law a day in their lives. They go into whatever it might be.
Okay.
They go into finance. They go into different fields.
Right.
They never use their legal degree. And for me, what that meant it means something different for everybody. For me, it meant go work for a law firm and see how a law firm operates, go into court, litigate, file motions, file briefs, write memos.
Because there's a lot of attorneys that don't go to court either.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, like the litigation piece, the going to court piece is huge. I think a lot of people kind of avoid that, right?
Well, for me, I wanted to be a litigator. I wanted to kind of be in the fight, per se, so I didn't want to get into corporate law or real estate. I became a lawyer in some ways because I felt like coming from a lower middle class family, that my parents were kind of defenseless in society and couldn't defend themselves and could be victimized. So I wanted to be able to defend my family, defend myself, and then also I just like I like politics, like arguing, like the idea of helping people.
Jim might tell you I like to argue too.
And for me, it's not so much liking arguing.
Proving your point.
Right. Yeah. For me, it was defending people, helping people. Right. I went to law school in a lot of ways to help my family and help people, and I thought the best way to do that was to be an advocate for them in the legal setting, which is litigation. So, for me, what I felt like becoming a real lawyer in my eyes was becoming a real litigator. So I wanted to go to what I perceived to be the biggest and best law firm in the state of Florida, which is where my wife's from, and got very lucky by being at Holland & Knight. And I think it's an absolutely fabulous law firm. We're all over the world, very large in Florida, and we have a robust practice in almost everything you can want to do. And I've just had an absolutely incredible experience at Holland & Knight.
That's
great people. It's kind of interesting because we do a lot of what people refer to as white shoe work, but we have a very blue-collar mentality to an extent. So it's just an absolutely incredible group of people.
Well, how do you get your clients, though? Like, so obviously Holland & Knight, a big name. So if anybody feels like they need an attorney, they can just look up Holland & Knight. But how do you get most of your clients? Like, how do you find most of the good relationships that you feel like, oh, I can help you, I can add value to you?
Well, it's interesting because way I started getting clients, the way we get clients, a lot of ways is just personal relationships, and that's how. I mean, a lot of people get clients because they see the name Haunted Night. Some people do call, some people get referrals, some people are legacy clients, which means that their company, their family, whoever was a client of this law firm for decades. And
so their family is either getting sued or suing again and again?
Or they're a business. No, we do a lot of corporate, we do a lot of real estate, a lot of repetitive work. We help grow companies. Yeah, we do lobbying.
Which we're going to talk about that.
Right, so we do a lot of stuff. So and that's part of the message is I suggest people that can develop a relationship with lawyers, because having a lawyer on your side is a fantastic thing to have, to bounce questions off of them, to strategize with them, to kind of help you with your business on a day-to-day basis.
To prevent having to go all the way through a lawsuit, right? So for
yeah.
people just joining, I have David Lisko here, commercial litigation attorney, and we're up in Tampa in his beautiful building on the 41st floor. And so we're talking about what not to do in business. We're actually just talking about David and how he got into this business. But I want to talk about now, what are some of those things that you're talking to a business owner and you're helping them prevent, how to avoid getting into this big lawsuit? You know, walk us through some of the things that you advise clients, especially like an ongoing client, what not to do in business.
Okay, so the majority of the work I do is a commercial litigation, which is essentially people or companies or families or entities fighting over some commercial dispute of some kind, breach of contract, fraud. I do a lot of fraud-based work, a lot of basically fraud, Ponzi schemes, things where basically business divorces. So things where things went
like when
bad.
Business partners are like separating, things
Right.
went bad in the business and now they're separating. Okay.
Or there's a dispute over two businesses enter into a contract and they end up getting into a dispute over something. Something happened, they end up fighting for whatever reason. Maybe they try to resolve things amicably, maybe not, but it ends up with an attorney and they end up fighting over something. And that's the majority of what I do. So I've seen a lot of interesting things.
That is a fight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like
I mean,
you see full-blown fights.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they call them business divorces, but in a lot of ways, it's like going to war with somebody. You see people. Everyone says. I mean, the first thing any good lawyer would tell you is, if you can avoid a lawsuit, because it's a lot of money. It's painstaking.
It's a long time. It takes a lot of time, right? I mean, sometimes
it can take a lot of time. It can go into areas you don't want to go into. It can get very negative. So any good lawyer would tell you, if you can avoid litigation, avoid litigation.
What are some of the main things? How to avoid, so you say business divorces. So how do you avoid, obviously you don't know when you go into business with someone that it's going to end badly.
Right.
So do you just recommend don't go into business with a business partner? What are some of the things that you do recommend if somebody's trying to go into business with someone else?
Well, I would say, the main thing I would say is this, is when you are getting into, if you're a person or a company and you're getting into a very serious, large deal with someone, so you're putting a lot of money and you're putting a lot of time, effort in.
Money on the table.
I would consider it like a marriage. And that's why we say business divorce, is a lot of times is you are marrying a company or marrying someone.
Right.
And
you're going to spend a lot of time with that person.
Yeah.
You're going to have, they're going to know all about your assets most of the time, right?
Yeah, when things go good or they go bad. If things go good and they go very good, inevitably you're going to have some kind of dispute over who should get what. If things go bad, whose fault is it? So, I mean, anyone
you set up documents ahead of time then?
Well, I would say anyone who's married knows, even if you madly in love with someone and you have very similar personalities, you're going to fight sometimes, right?
Yes.
Same thing with business people.
It just ultimately ends with Jim telling me I'm right, though. But
exactly. So, in business normally.
Yeah, I can say that.
Well, I would say that.
See if he's still
also,
paying attention.
Anyone that's married knows that there's normally a trump card, and I would say that in a lot of commercial litigation or business, there's not a trump card. Mm-hmm. So you're going with two equal sides or not equal sides, but they both have equal rights. So what I would say is this. I would say the same thing about getting into a business, investing in a company, or becoming a business partner with someone, going to a joint venture. I would say, just like marriage, have your eyes wide open. Mm-hmm. I would say the same thing to a young person who's talking about getting married, is go in with your eyes open. And I think there's several ways to do that.
Okay.
Is do your due diligence. Like I said, if you can have...
Do your due diligence.
If you are a company or you're an individual or a family that has
I'm gonna write this down.
the ability to engage lawyers early and often, then I would do that. And I would try to develop a relationship with that lawyer where
to consult with, right? Like all along the way, just to give you a call and consult with you. Say, look, we're about to make this big decision. What should we have in the contract, or things like that ahead of time.
Yeah, right.
It's just the problem is, doesn't that cost money, but it'll probably save you money in the long run.
Well, I would say this is, so I do mainly commercial litigation. I also do for athletes and for high net worth individuals, entrepreneurs. I would say business planning to an extent, or pre-litigation advisory role, or just general legal advice. And those are kind of the best relationships because you're often, and you know each other, and you become very familiar with each other. Yeah, it does cost money. I mean, most lawyers, Holland Knight, for instance, does a ton of pro bono work, but that's for indigent people or for charities or people that really need help. I mean, mainly we do hourly work we charge an hourly fee for our work. However,
to do the planning piece too, right?
Yeah, for anything. So
right.
I mean, like I said, with athletes, we do sponsorship deals. We do operating agreements, for instance. How do you get into that? I would say this is when we really know someone and we have all the information, we can help that person do one of two things. Is whenever I'm doing work, non-litigation work, so I'm doing work I call business advisory work, or work that people are coming to me. There's no active litigation. They're coming to me and simply having me be part of the team for a deal, operating agreement, joint venture agreement, sponsorship agreement, whatever it might be. They mainly want two things from me because I do have a litigation background. I'm a litigator. Mm-hmm. They want to say, we don't want to get into litigation, so how do we make these deals airtight? And two, if we do get in litigation, we want to have an ACE card that we can pull out and say, look, we did things right, we're not wrong, or help me by having that evidence.
So help you construct, there you go. So help you construct the evidence should something come to an argument. You help them have the evidence. And then define how you, because I think I know what you mean, but for everybody out there listening, define what you mean, like making a deal airtight.
Well, I would say...
Because that's what I would say, attorney talk.
Yeah. Well, I would say, so the idea of having your eyes wide open is know who you're marrying and know the whole deal. I mean, a marriage, that's obviously an age-old contract of two people that entered a marriage, and it's pretty understandable what that is. Some people get into contracts, actually written contracts when they get married. Most people don't. But you understand what you're getting into. You're having a family, whatever it might be. With business, with business, I would say this is know two things. Know who you're marrying and know what you're getting into. Have an airtight
how do you know?
It should be in writing. You should have a lawyer.
In writing. So lay out the expectations ahead of time in writing.
Yeah.
Not just a handshake.
Well, no. Unfortunately, I think it was a fantastic time in the world and in America when you could do business with a handshake. Yeah. But unfortunately, from what I've seen in my seat, is at that time is long gone. Another thing I see what is troubling sometimes is we'll get into I'd say lawyers or me, for instance, will get into a situation at different stages of the game. Yeah. The absolute best time is when I'm there from day one. Ooh. If you have from day one, I can help you say, I think this is a red flag.
So anytime you're getting into a deal, or would you say there's a specific instance where, so not even before the red flag, would you just say in general, like laying the foundation of I'm going to get into a contract, or I'm about to enter with a business owner, or whatever, they just call you up immediately, or you wait for the red flag?
Well, I would say with some people, what I like to do is for me, I like to create close personal relationships where I become friends with people, become very close, and like I said, whether it be entrepreneurs, small business owners, large businesses.
You're a good person to have on that side.
Or anybody.
Friends I have.
And they'll normally call me and say, we're thinking about this, we're thinking about that, we have this going on, and I'm not going to charge someone for that. Obviously, it's just a phone call, it's just friends. Keep me advised what's going on, and then telling them. Also, I think a key message to get across here is when should a lawyer be involved? Because that's
you were telling me earlier, when should you file a lawsuit? For people just joining, we're talking with David Lisko, commercial litigation attorney and sports agent. So we're going through, and I'm going to ask him some of his nightmare stories in a minute, but we're going through what you should do when you're entering business deals or when you're opening a business with someone. We're talking about that. So go ahead. Continue on with that train of thought.
Well, like I said, so I think that having a lawyer involved, like me, is a good idea at the beginning, or just having an advisor involved. And the reason why is because I think two things is like I said, the two main goals are avoid litigation and then have an ace in the hole if there is litigation, where you can rely on that and say, we did this the right way. Like I said,
it helps you sleep at night too, like just knowing when you've done things the right way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in this world, wouldn't you say that anymore, even if you had the best of intentions, if you don't have everything lined up correctly according to law, you can end up being the one that gets screwed, for lack of a better term.
Well, I want to say this. I would say if you're dealing with businesses, you're dealing with finance, you're dealing with investments or operating agreements, partnerships, these are legal entities, and you're dealing with legal terms. A contract, for instance, is a legal term. It's a term of art. An operating agreement is a term of art. So you have all these terms of art, and especially when I do my work for pro athletes or former pro athletes who are business owners now, is they'll have agents or they'll have advisors or managers. And to me, I get into a deal and they're already halfway through it or close to the end.
Right.
And I'm saying that you don't have these basic things in this deal.
In line.
Yeah, I mean, so if you don't have
so you're
the basics,
entering when it's already kind of a mess.
Yeah, and the problem is this: is sometimes the desires to get going so fast is you have this opportunity and you just want to go, which is that's what business people do.
Yeah.
But the problem is
they're
this:
so worried about their day-to-day interactions, they don't worry. They wait till they have to react to something.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is this: is you get into a situation where you're meeting someone, or they're saying we're going to sue someone now, or we think we've been defrauded or wronged, or we don't know where our $5 million went, something like that. And you start asking questions. You say, well, what about this? What about that? And they say, well, what is the security? What do you mean? What's a security?
Yeah.
And you say, you bought a security. And they say, I don't know what that is. That's a term of art. That's defined in Florida law.
Right. Which is something that you can help
sometimes we say, you don't have a basic contract. And they say, what do you mean? I said, you literally don't have a basic contract. So you have to have these things. I'll tell you, you want to put things in writing too. Like I said, I think a couple of things is know who you're marrying, so have a clear understanding of who this person is, and know what you're doing. I would say that I would say honestly the most important thing is know who you're marrying, because if you marry the wrong if you get into bed with the wrong person, it doesn't matter how airtight the deal is or how well things were done. You could still come into a horrible fight. That person can still defraud you. I mean, the worst case scenario is where you can't even sue someone. I mean, a lot of times, I would say, especially with the pro athlete side, is they have that documentary Broke, where guys went broke after only 2 or 3 years and they're bankrupt. That's the majority of NFL players.
Right.
They made bad investments. So
bad investments, or they went into bed with the wrong people, or both? Because that was one of Jim's questions on there. Was he said, how often does that happen? That especially athletes go into business or with a financial advisor, for instance, like in my business, or they hire somebody that completely defrauds them. I mean,
it happens all the time. And it happens way more than anyone knows, because a lot of times they will go seek legal representation and they'll say that you don't have anybody to sue, or you just want to hear about it. Or the player, it was their family, it was their friend, so they don't sue. But
they don't want to.
If you just look at the statistics alone, is this happening all the time? And I'll tell you what's difficult. I think the pro athlete thing is a good, it's a very good kind of explanation point. Is pro athletes, in my experience, and I have a good amount of pro athlete clients. I have worked with a lot of pro athletes. I played football at Ohio State, so some of my best friends in the world became pro athletes. And I would say this is they trust very few people,
right?
Which is a good thing, in my opinion. The bad thing is this: the people they do trust, a lot of times, are the wrong people.
They give the world to, right?
They give them the world. They'll even sign over their power of attorney.
Oh my!
And that happens a lot. And then
don't sign over.
When you say who is that? Is that an attorney? Is it? Do they have a Harvard MBA? No, it's my buddy down the street.
Yeah.
Or
by the way, the power of attorney can, if you don't know what that is, the power of attorney is the document that you give someone the authorization to do things for you financially. Like they can go into a bank and open you a bank account, for instance, or they can do something for you financially. So we're talking with David Lisko, commercial litigation attorney here for all the people that have just joined. We're talking about, and I'm about to get into some of the nightmare stories that he has, but things that people do in business, and I'm going to post like a summary. I'll post it either in the comments, and I'll also tweet it on our Nova Wealth Management Twitter at Nova Wealth Management. But so far he has said, know who you're getting in bed with, know who you're making the deal with, know that person inside and out, and know what you're getting into. And the way to do that is to all lay it out in writing. And then somebody like David can help you lay out the evidence and prepare the evidence should something go wrong. So that's what we're talking about now. But what are some of the things? So we're talking about pro athletes a lot that do it wrong. They trust very few people, and the people they do trust, they give them full control. Yeah. But business owners too, even when they get bigger and bigger into business, I've seen it. I had a client that big construction company doing everything on a handshake, and then he got divorced, and the wife even goes after the partners. So what are some of these stories that you see that are real life examples for the business owners living? Everybody's living, hopefully. Listening out there.
Everyone watching, I hope.
Yes. Listening out there, taking some notes. What are some things they can say, oh, wow, that could happen to me? I need to really get this in order and not just take it for granted that everything's going fine right now and then wait for something to go wrong. What are some of the things that you have seen?
I would say that the truly heartbreaking story for me, and we see this all the time, this happens all the time, is when someone comes to me or comes to Home Night and they say, I think I've been defrauded. And I did this, I did that. But either way, that $5 million I put into this company or invested in this or invested in that, I think it's gone. And I'm not getting...
So what are you as the attorney trying to do? You're trying to get it back, or you're trying to...
Well, I would say this. I would say, so the person comes to you and they say, $5 million invested or in this operating agreement or in this company, and now it's gone. Now this person, who I thought was my trusted business partner, is not returning my emails, phone calls, and then we look into it. So we ask a couple questions. Day one, moment one is, okay, well, what did you do? And who would, I mean, so then the thought is,
what were you told? What was the agreement? What do you think the agreement was?
What they want to say is we're thinking about suing this person. So they say $5 million out the door is gone. There's a bad guy, and we're going to sue him. And that leads you to a couple questions. Okay, well, who are you going to sue? And
so do you always say there's two sides to every story, or do you instantly just take their side?
Well, I mean,
there's a bad person.
I would say as a lawyer, you're an advocate for your clients. So that's one thing. But you're trying to give them good advice. So if you determine that, well, no, what happened was totally legal, you're just giving them good advice. So you're not giving them. So you have obligation to your client, but you have obligation to the truth. You always want to tell your client the truth and the reality. So, in that respect, they're one and the same, in my opinion. The truth and advocacy for your client are one and the same because your client should want the truth, should want to know the truth, and be on the side of truth. But the thing, I'll tell you, so continue on with that story, is a lot of times we'll say, the first rule of a lawsuit is this: if you can't get paid out at the end of a lawsuit, then you don't have a lawsuit. So for instance, if, let's say, for example, that you were going to do business with Coca-Cola, and your business deal goes bad, you feel like you've been defrauded, then you can sue Coke, and you can guarantee this: if you are right and you win your lawsuit, Coca-Cola is going to pay out that lawsuit. Period. They have insurance policies. They have billions of dollars.
I was just going to say, even if you're not right, wouldn't they settle sometimes? Or?
Well, that's not. I mean, I can't advise someone on that. I'm saying the scenario where you're obviously right. So, so you're in bed with Coca-Cola. You do business with Coca-Cola, and something goes wrong. You feel like you've been defrauded, or you feel like your contract wasn't done right. Whatever happens, you decide you want to sue Coke. The beauty of it is, at the end of the day, if you win, you're going to get paid out because they have the money to pay it. If you get into a business deal with Joe down the street who doesn't have any money, even if he stole $2 million from you, if he spent that money, you can sue him all you want. And you're going to have a blast doing it. And then you're going to get to the end of the day where you're going to have a judgment in your hand, which is a piece of paper. So if you win a lawsuit, you get a piece of paper that says, congratulations, you have a judgment against this person. You have to collect that anyway. So if that person has no money, there's nothing to collect.
There's nothing to go.
If they have no assets, there's nothing to collect.
No insurance, no.
Exactly.
And you see that with like malpractice, medical malpractice. If they don't have insurance or if they don't have the funds, you can't get money. We talked a little bit about the whole Bernie Madoff thing before we were even on camera. We had a client at our prior firm that had money with them. They were actually coming back to them for some of the funds because it was fraudulent funds. So I mean, it can be a huge mess. Again, talking with David, hi Diane, thanks for joining. David Lisko, a commercial litigation attorney with Holland & Knight, and we're in his beautiful office in Tampa talking about all the different stories that he's been through with business owners, how to do business the right way, get everything in writing. That's a huge, people take that for granted. That, what do you mean by in writing? You mean like an official document, not just like this, like, okay.
No, I mean official documents. I mean, there's certain telltale signs.
When they don't want to do it in writing.
Well, if you have red flags, I mean, a lot of times we get into lawsuits where the first meeting we have, they tell us what happened to them and what they want to do, and inevitably they'll tell us, I see things so differently now. I feel stupid. I feel dumb. I can't believe I didn't see this, or I thought that. And unfortunately, a lot of times with business people, I mean, I love entrepreneurs. I love the business spirit. I love it.
But they're going.
Yeah, and they want to go, and they want to go fast, and they want to all become Mark Zuckerbergs and make $1 billion. And a lot of times the criticism is lawyers slow things down, or lawyers are negative, or this and that. And the reality is that check sometimes is needed. I always tell people is a lawyer can give you advice. They give you advice, and they could give you your options. But you as the business person make that choice. And I'll tell you, the difficult thing is this. is in those deals where maybe sometimes it seems a bit shady or you don't have the best paperwork. Sometimes those are the biggest deals. Is if you're investing in the biggest banks in the world, your investment is as safe as it could possibly be. However, the margins are going to be smaller, right?
Right.
That's just the bottom line. Is so
the more risk you have, the more
so if you're being conservative, which is you have to walk a fine line.
That's not typically the entrepreneur nature. Like
exactly.
If you're investing into something like a startup company, which actually we have personally invested into like startups, and you know what you're getting into, and you know that you have the capability of losing it all.
Well, you said you know what you're getting into. That's what I would say. That's the key. Is have someone on board. I mean, a lawyer or a non-lawyer, but do your due diligence and say, this is what this is, and have an understanding of that. Is don't think that everything is rosy and sunshines. If you're not being conservative, at least understand that fact. At least understand the fact that high risk, high reward. I'm willing to take the risk, but at least know that. Is do the due diligence.
Can you help people structure it so that they, instead of having to partner up with someone, can you help them structure maybe an equity deal, or maybe they structure it a different way? I mean, is that something that you can advise on to help them not have to give away half of their business, for instance? Or
I would say this. I would say having a lawyer involved early on, any lawyer. Well, I would say not any lawyer.
Shout
good
out to
lawyers.
Ben Energy.
Have very good lawyers. I would say this is have a trusted lawyer who thinks a very good lawyer, and they're going to tell you, I think, some red flags. And also, it's like a deterrent. Is a lot of times I'll see. And this is crazy. I mean, because I have interesting being litigation attorney, I get a backstage pass after things go bad. So it's interesting because two business entrepreneurs were going hot and heavy, they'll have a business deal, things go bad. I then come in as part of the litigation team, and I get to see all the emails for 3 years. I get all the text messages for 3 years.
You go back and look at all the evidence.
Look at all this stuff. And I'll tell you, more often than not, it is crazy, but the guys running the Ponzi schemes will say, we don't want lawyers involved. We don't think a lawyer should be involved. We don't think that. We don't think that.
So that's just
These
a
guys
red flag
slow
right
things
there.
down.
Red flag.
Well, why don't you want a lawyer involved? Exactly. And another thing is, if you're doing
a lawyer involved,
or this, and this is even worse, in my opinion, we have a lawyer. He'll represent both of us.
Ooh.
Because if they have a lawyer and he or she is claiming to do both of you in a business deal, you don't have a lawyer. I've seen that in
divorces.
You have a lawyer working against you. You need your own lawyer who you trust. And in my opinion,
it's crazy that they can even do that, because isn't that kind of a conflict of interest?
It is.
Kind of.
But maybe the attorney doesn't know that. Maybe the attorney doesn't realize this business person is saying these things.
Oh, I see.
So I would just be involved. I mean, having a lawyer involved, it also puts up kind of a screen in front of you, protects you a little bit. But
well, and when you care about something, right? So when you really feel everything in you that you believe this is the business deal that's going to take your business to the next level, you really believe it with your heart, everything in you, and you want it so bad. And then that's why people say attorneys are negative, because they want it so bad. They go in to get advice, and somebody like you is going to say, you know what, I just don't think this is the best deal because of this, this, and this. It's on you. All of a sudden, you're the negative one because this is what they wanted. So you have to understand that an attorney is going to be an advocate for you without bias, whereas you've got bias. So when you have that bias, it really alters your opinion, in my opinion.
Well, I was one of the best about Hall and Knight to me is coming in a couple of years ago as a young attorney. I had the ability to meet with like legendary attorneys in the state of Florida, like guys who were literally legends in the state, in this country.
That have settled some big cases, you mean?
That have been at the prime center of the legal industry moving forward. Incredible guys. And one of those guys' names was John Germany, who passed away a couple of years ago. Absolutely incredible human being, incredible lawyer. And I was very, very lucky to, for whatever reason, he took me under his wing to an extent, and I got to have lunch with him probably once a quarter for 3 years.
That's so nice to have like a mentor like that.
Literally week one of me being at Hall tonight, I get to meet John Germany, and he said, why don't you and your wife come to my condo and we'll go to dinner. I go to this guy's condo, this man's condo, and he shows me a handwritten letter to him from Winston Churchill. So this guy was incredible. And one of the things, he told me numerous things. I mean, I was at lunch with him, and we were talking about sports or whatever it was, but he would kind of give you these incredible nuggets of information that you could take with you for your entire career. And one of the things he said to me early on was, I'm blanking here for some reason. I talked too long about John Germany.
Everybody's waiting for the suspense.
I got it now. It came back to me. So what he said to me was if you're a good lawyer, you do two things. Is people will come to you and say, I want to do this. Do not be a lawyer who says, no, you can't do that. Be a lawyer who says, yes, you can do that.
But here's your
this is
options.
how you do it, and these are your
Right.
options.
Right.
You have to,
So it's all
and
about
obviously,
the wording.
what you're going to do within the law.
The
So we're
psychology
going
of
to
it.
tell you, we do not represent, obviously, criminals. We don't represent guys or women who are trying to defraud people. We don't represent bad people who are trying to do negative things. We represent...
You represent the victim, usually.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying we represent people who we think are honest people. If we think someone's
Oh, I
lying
see.
to us,
I
lying
see.
to the community, we would not represent them as a law firm.
Right.
So we represent a lot of businesses, a lot of people, and we have fantastic clients. But they're coming to you and say, we want to do this, we want to do that. And obviously, if it's not within the law, we're going to say you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what people come to us with. Normally, it's entrepreneurs say, we want to do this, we want to enter this deal. I'm never going to tell you no. I'm going to tell you, this is how I think you should do it. This is what I would do to protect yourself, and these are your options.
That's good.
But also, I would say with entrepreneurs, you want to go. That's where the money's at. You want to go fast. You want to be first. Being first is obviously huge. But actually, I learned a lot from my wife in the last couple of years. My wife, we have 3 children now, and my wife...
Little children.
Yeah, I have a 5-year-old, 4-year-old, and a 9-month-old.
Busy house.
And my wife is extremely intelligent, has a master's degree, and she used to be very spontaneous. But I've seen her over the years become more conservative, become more... She craves stability because she craves a stable house for our kids.
Right.
So I would say that when we meet people, I mean, we do some business together, and obviously we raise our kids together, and my wife asks a lot of questions. So we were in I have our kids going to private school next year, and we're at this meeting with this, I guess, school board advisor or something like that. And she's asking like 30,000 questions. And she's asking everything.
That a little bit.
But I wouldn't have done these. I would never ask most of these questions. But
Yeah.
I was so appreciative that she did when she was done because we had so much information.
Right.
And she wants to know everything from A to Z.
What if?
Yeah, what if?
If this happens, what's the result?
And that's what
If this happens, what's
and the
the
point of the
result?
story is that that's the way entrepreneurs do not necessarily think that way. That's not how they're kind of born and bred.
No.
But you have to have someone in your camp who does think that way.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, a good business deal, I could tell you, if say we get together, we do a great business deal, I should be able to tell you every step of the way, including what if we hate each other and we get divorced and we want to sue each other. Well, I should be able to tell you you're going to sue in the state of Florida, you're going to be in arbitration, you're actually going to be in this court, and you're going to get attorney's fees if you win. I should tell you all those things before you consummate the business.
Right.
Before you consummate the business marriage. I should tell you all those things. You should know what's going to happen, and you have a clear playing field. Now, I would say this: a very good business deal, you know the rules of the game. You know what you're getting into. You know what's going to happen necessarily down the line. A bad business deal is you're just going gung-ho 1,000 miles per hour, and you're hoping that you're going to make $1 billion. And everything's going to be great.
And you're
and
just
you know
looking
what?
at the opportunity.
Oh, and they're saying, you know
here's
what?
the opportunity. Here's the opportunity. They're not looking at all the different
and they're
possibilities
saying, even
of
if
outcomes.
even if this person is shady, even if this is going to happen, we're going to make so much money. Who's going to care?
Yeah.
We're going to make
I've
so
heard
much
that.
money. I'll just get out, and I'll take my $10 million and I'll invest it in this or that. I'm just going to get out. So I'm going to get in this for a couple of years, make a fortune, and then we're going to get out. But you do not know that because what if
No.
someone sues a frivolous lawsuit against you? So you don't know that.
Or what I've seen, even if, what if, heaven forbid, a business partner dies or a business partner goes through a divorce, and then you have other family members that come after you for their estate or for, like you've got all sorts of things. So you have to know, you have to look at all the different outcomes because it could spiral into something so bad so quickly if you don't.
Well, that should be defined in the deal. I mean,
Yeah,
and if you're
right,
dealing entrepreneurs, so you're doing people to people,
Right.
operating agreements, joint venture agreements, sponsorship deals. I would say anything where there's like actual, real people involved, as opposed to if it's two giant companies, that stuff's worked out in bylaws or whatever it is. I mean,
Right.
even if the CEO of Motorola were to die, unfortunately, they have a business progression plan,
For sure.
and whatever it is, it's not gonna torpedo it. If you have two entrepreneurs who are starting this company and they're doing great together and they're
both
making a
are
ton of money
opinionated.
and one dies, if you have a good business deal set up, you should actually understand the progression of where the money will go, what will happen, who will become the majority owner, who will make decisions.
Well, and have a document that shows that maps that out, right? Not
Yeah,
just,
absolutely.
well, if he or she dies, then, well,
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. You think about it, but you don't have it mapped out. Have it mapped out on paper.
When people, I mean, the divorce rate is like 50% in this country. So everyone on day one of the marriage, they're thinking that we're going to be together forever. They never contemplate the divorce most times.
How many businesses do you think? Do you have any idea, like how many business partnerships that start divorce? Any idea?
I mean, I would say so. At home at night, we get emails every single day with every single lawsuit filed in Tampa State Court, so Florida State Courts. For me, every time a lawsuit is filed in federal court in Tampa, I get an email every single day.
You know about it?
At the end of every day, like 4:30 p.m., I get an email that shows me every lawsuit filed.
Why is that? Just so you can check out the case?
Well, no, I mean, so we have a client. So say you were my client.
Yeah.
And you got sued. Wouldn't you be like? And I called you and said, you got sued? You wouldn't know because you haven't been served yet. You'd be like, oh my gosh.
So you would have the notification.
Yeah, so we check on that to see our clients have been sued. Also to see trends in the legal community, what are plaintiffs' lawyers doing, just to advise our clients. I mean, it's good to know that stuff.
Yeah.
So, and it's dozens of lawsuits filed a day.
Right.
So, and a lot of these are business divorce types or breach of contract types. So I would say it happens all the time.
Even if you're not, so we have somebody that just joined that I want to ask this question for too. So even if you're not partnering with somebody and you're just by yourself, let's say you're a solo entrepreneur, you're self-employed, what would you say for that person, that self-employed individual trying to grow their business? The number one thing that they can do, they're not going to partner with somebody, but they might be going into different business deals. What is something that the solo entrepreneur can do to make sure that their business that they don't go broke, essentially?
Well, I mean, so even if they're not entering into a form of partnership type of deal, they're still partnering with somebody. They're selling products or they're doing something. I mean, every company is relying on other companies.
They're putting themselves.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're a really small company and you only have, I mean, whatever you're selling whatever widget it is, there's something that went into making that. There's something that went into getting that out the door. Even if you're an internet service provider or wealth management, there's a lot of, you have to interact with each other. There's no person on an island doing business. Everyone's interacting. Right. So, I mean, that's part of it too, is who are you doing deals with, who are you working with. You want to work with good people, obviously, because you don't know when you're going to get drug into something. If you're...
So you should have your services laid out there. Like us at Nova, I think we have to, but I have a Nova agreement. Like, so whenever I enter into an agreement with a client, I just have it all laid out there. It's like 5-6 pages as to what we are supposed to do, what's the expectations of us, and what we think our expectations are of our services, and what the client should expect from us, and what we expect from the client. And it's all in writing, even down to the little things like you need to be truthful if you're a client. You know, you're going to update us. You're not going to hide from me the fact that you're getting a divorce or something, for example, just that they're going to be truthful. So things like that, you can lay out just for your clients what your services are, especially if you're in the professional services arena, right? I mean, instead of, and if you sell a product, so I have a lot of people that watch this that sell a product. You know, their business is selling something physical. So obviously you see all the, like, this is hot, you know, like disclosures, like little tags on things like could suffocate from this, or, you know, but what are some other things that you can do if you sell a product to make sure that you're not sued for what that product does? I mean, just disclosures on the packaging, or, you know? Well,
get insurance for one.
Insurance.
So have insurance and understand what that insurance agreement says, and understand what you, like what you said with your deal, you have, it goes both ways, so you both have duties.
Right.
If you have an insurance policy, you have actually a lot of duties under that. So make sure you're following and doing what you need to do to make sure you're protected. But I mean, for instance, like that is there's numerous laws. I mean, it was interesting because I was doing a lawsuit for I'm involved with a lawsuit for a medical doctor, and we're talking about collateral consequences of going on, and we actually did this like report for him of something went wrong in his practice necessarily, without getting into any details at all.
Right.
And he feels like his life is going to be impacted in a very major way.
He was going to be getting sued?
No, I can't even go into details about it.
Oh,
I'm just saying, so the individual owned a medical practice.
Okay.
And things went sideways for multiple reasons. And he asked us to say, well, I think this is going to be a major impact on my life, but I don't think I understand how big of an impact this is. So we actually wrote him a collateral consequences memorandum. And with all the state regulations, with all the federal regulations on doctors, we thought there were over 1,900 different regulations and laws that applied to this one medical practice. And we thought, you're going to be impacted in all these different ways. I mean, some of them there was some crossover with federal and state.
1,900. See, there's no way the
That many
layperson.
consequences.
Yeah, there's
Well,
no
I mean-
way the layperson can know that. Like they have.
Well,
to.
and that's the business judgment. If you can't afford a lawyer, you can't afford a 60-page operating agreement. You can't afford it. So I'm not telling you I would go into business because obviously being in business is better than not being out of business. So
Well, being in business on your own in general is a risk.
yeah.
You have to know that. That's the difference between working for like a larger company and then being in business on your own.
Right. But I would say this is understand. So this is a perfect. Another example of pro athletes. Pro athletes, no one feel bad for them, right? Because they have $20 million in the bank. If you find out a guy like Mike Tyson made hundreds of millions of dollars, or you find these pro athletes, well, I would say this is we as a society and business people, we have an expectation of professionalism or competency for wealthy
when you're
people.
in the eye of the public, especially.
So if you're an
you have
entrepreneur
expectation.
that somehow you stumbled across something and you're inventing lollipops or whatever it might be, something new and fun, you have no money and you're just starting some company like Walt Disney or whatever.
Yeah.
No one thinks you're sophisticated, so no one's going to feel. I mean, people are going to treat you one certain way, and if you screw something up, it's understandable. So, perfect example. Say you talk about what if you hurt somebody.
Right.
If you're one guy in a basement making some widget, and you're just starting out, you want to go and get some great idea, you want to do it, and that widget hurts somebody, we have a certain understanding of, well, you bought it from some guy in a basement, and whatever. But say that guy in a basement becomes very successful, and that guy in the basement all of a sudden has 12 factories and is big time, making $1 billion a year, or $10 million a year, whatever it might be. Well, we as a society say, listen, buddy, we have a certain expectation that you're going to do things the right way. And you are very wealthy, so that's the deal. And with these pro athletes, a lot of pro athletes own small tech companies now. Actually, where I do a lot of work is in the tech industry with entrepreneurs, and pro athletes inherently seem to be moving into tech and entrepreneurship, which is really exciting and fun. But
well, they all have big ideas, and they have the connections to kind of put that big idea to work.
Well,
so that's why I think it's a natural
thing. If you're a pro athlete and you play for the Falcons or Buccaneers or whoever, I know, and everyone else in the world knows who you are, how much money you make, that you are wealthy. And if I'm going to sue somebody, like I said, the first rule of lawsuits, can they pay? Well, I know you can pay. So you're going to be a target. So you have to do things the right way. And because you make that much money and you are who you are, we as a society expect a certain amount of professionalism, sophistication. So when you don't have a lawyer involved and you have no contracts written, we just don't feel bad for you. And you are a target for people. I mean, I would say
I love your
every time I go
straightforward approach.
Every time I get involved with a lot of. I told her, oh, hi Chelsea, I love you. Tell Evie I said I hope she's feeling better. But talking about earlier is there's a lot of people who are sophisticated, have a lot of money, want to go, and they don't do the due diligence to see who they're in bed with, and it's a major problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, except with the pro athlete side, I think they're trusting the wrong people a lot of times. So they're doing business, and they might even realize they're even doing business. Some of these, I mean,
that's a whole nother. They don't even know.
Where they said, I got
define
sued.
when you're doing business.
Yeah, well, they say, I mean, I get the dealing with pro athletes, I get the craziest stuff you can imagine. I get the craziest stories because they're getting approached all the time.
What are one of those crazy stories? I just asked you like 3 questions in 30 seconds.
A crazy story? A crazy story I would say is this: is I would say that a guy told me I got this letter in the mail, and I said, okay, well, okay. I think it's a summons. I said, do you know what a summons is? No. It means you're being sued. Why don't you do me a favor? Scan this to me, and I'll look over it for you, and we'll have a conversation. Okay. Turns out this guy owned a company that he didn't know he owned.
Oh, no.
Because his uncle's buddy, who was a financial advisor, invested a ton of this guy's money into a company, which he owned 100%, which he didn't know he owned, and it got sued by somebody.
So he just signed papers when he didn't know what he was signing?
He did a power of attorney.
Okay.
So he had a bit. Also, that's one major thing. I'd say through the pro athletes watching this, I would say, who are you getting advice from, and how do you meet that person? And that should be interesting. That should be of interest to you. Like I said, they trust few people. They trust these people a lot. I don't think if you knew that person in high school necessarily, they might not be giving the best advice for you of who should.
And no matter how inconvenient, don't give them all the control.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that like we see when people come to us, and it's already after the fact too, is they gave somebody all control. Like they gave somebody the control to have access to their checking accounts, to be a signer on their credit card, to pay their bills, to having a power of attorney to open a business for them. I mean, it's everything. It's the whole thing that they give somebody the control over. Don't do
And-
that. We're with,
yeah.
I want to reintroduce you real quick. We're with David Lisko. Hey, Tamara. Commercial litigation attorney at Holland and Knight, and we're up in Tampa. We're going to be wrapping this up soon. So far we have talked about what you should do in business before you get in bed with someone. So know who you're getting in business with and know what you're actually getting into and have it in writing, have different outcomes in writing. And then we've been talking about some different stories, some different things that David has seen in just, I guess, different cases that you've had, really, and different clients that he's had and what things he's been through, and giving us advice on what to do and what not to do in business, whether you're a solo entrepreneur or you have a whole team of people. Do you probably see it too, employees? When you have employees and you have battles either between employees or between the employee and the business owner, I mean, do you see cases like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, actually do. So I mean, I do. Majority of my work is commercial litigation. I also do white-collar crime and some labor employment law work. So I actually do a wide variety of work. I do a lot of employment work.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes you'll get the scenario where someone's trying to defraud a company, but normally.
So where the employee
But
is
normally,
trying to
yeah, but
defraud a
normally,
company. But then that's one of the cases where you can't sue if there are no assets.
Well,
like if an employee is trying to defraud you, a lot of time they're financially not well off. That's why they're trying to steal
there's
money.
multiple reasons for a lawsuit. I would say you file a lawsuit for injunctive relief. So say your employee stole your software or stole
Okay.
something from you
Got
that's
it.
highly valued. You hire a lawyer to go and sue them for injunctive relief.
Okay.
So that's part of
And
it.
you just go to get it back? You go to get funds? And
Yeah,
what
I
if they
mean,
don't have
yeah.
the money?
Well, I mean, that's part of the problem. Well, if someone is defrauding you at a high level,
Mhm.
they're an executive level person.
Mm.
They know a lot about your company, so you'll sue them for multiple reasons. If it's a low level
Okay.
person, they will never have access to
Right.
stuff that's truly valuable. So,
Well, okay.
I mean, and they
That's
actually
true.
won't. Most companies, a low level employee cannot defraud a company at a high level. But you got to have great employment policies, and that's crucial. Having a great employee handbook, great policies, having a lawyer involved you can call any day.
How
to get
big
things
should a
going.
company be when you start thinking about these things? Like putting in that foundation, having an employee handbook, having all that HR, because that's really HR stuff.
Yeah.
How big? Like once you cross over what line for our business owners out there?
There's no magic number, but I would say once you are suable, I would say once you
Once you
think
have
that
something to sue for.
once you think that Morgan & Morgan or a different plaintiff's law firm would say, I think this person has been wronged, so we're going to go after you, or whoever
Right.
it might be, is that's when you know. And another thing is this: is a lawyer can tell you when that is. They
Okay.
can say when
So
you
that's
have
part
actually.
of the consulting.
Well, also there's certain numbers. You only become applicable to certain federal laws when you hit certain numbers.
Mhm.
So you have 10 employees, you have 20 employees, you have 100 employees. All those things factor in. So contact a lawyer. I mean, and say, we're growing, we now have 30 employees. What should we do? And a good employment lawyer will say, well, now that you have this many employees, these new laws that didn't apply to you
Apply
before
to you.
now apply to you. You have to do these things. You got to, and that was talking about sophistication.
Right.
Is if you have 100 employees, that's the federal government, the state government, we as a society put certain burdens on you, and
Right.
that ups the cost of business. But that's just the way we have to be as a society to protect
Well,
each
and
other.
all the more to protect.
Yeah.
Correct.
Eh,
So we've been.
Let me say one more thing that
Yeah,
I think
go
is
ahead.
important too, as a
Go
pro athletes or just entrepreneurs, business people.
Yeah.
Is one thing I would say is this: is I've had several years of practice in this area, involved with a lot of lawsuits, come across some very unsavory characters on the other side.
I bet.
And I would say this is, you have to understand that there are people out there to get you. That
Their sole business is.
yeah, as an NFL agent, I had to go
defraud
to,
you.
I had to travel to certain things every year, and I get emails, phone calls from all these people trying to get to pro athletes through me, and
Oh, wow.
and also not only that, but I'm very into podcasts and do positive energy, positive thinking. So certain gurus, Tony Robbins, Tim Ferriss, whoever, is those people attract certain groups, internet followings, actually in-person meetings, stuff like that. And people would embed themselves to set up a Ponzi scheme, to defraud people. So
Their
most
whole
people,
goal from
yeah.
start to finish.
so most people,
Right.
the vast majority of people are out there to do good in the world, and they would never hurt anybody. I mean, I do not want to hurt anybody at all when I'm doing business. That's just not who I am.
Your goal
But-
is to help. Quite the opposite.
But there are a lot of people out there that say the easiest way for me to get from point A to point B is to essentially steal from people, to defraud them. And some of these people are very, very good. They speak the right language. They look the right way.
They know the business
Somehow
that
they're
you're
getting
in.
yeah. They look legitimate. They look very wealthy. Well, that guy wears a Rolex. He must be rich. That guy is part of this organization they only take people with $10 million of net assets.
They
Well,
have
what
several hundred employees, as you
what
mentioned.
if they made an exception?
Yeah.
What if that person, it looks like they're rich on paper, but it's fake? There are actually whole companies that exist specifically to make you look way more legitimate than you are. There are
So they
companies,
hire a company to make you look
there are
legitimate.
companies that exist that I have run into that make it
Seems
look.
like it would
They will help.
hardly be worth the time.
They will help you write a book. No, you have people. They will help you write a book. It's a BS book. They'll put it out in a week, but then you can then say, I'm a author, and then this company for a premium will actually invite you to a conference where they invite their other people and give
So I
you
take
an
it
award.
you've seen this.
So you have
You've seen-
you have a
you
picture
sound
of
like you've
you.
seen this.
You have a picture of you as an author in front of a big audience accepting an award, and you look like a legitimate business person who actually wrote a book on this, received an award on this. There was a crowd. There's a podcast. They were published in the New York Times. There are companies that help you look legitimate to get into the right circles to defraud
If you're
people.
going to go through all that, then why not just be legitimate?
Well,
I don't-
what we do a lot of times is we were planning on going legitimate,
Okay.
or we thought we were going to get there someday, or no one wants to admit that they're doing this stuff. So what they think is this: fake it till you make it. So I'm going to make
till
it,
you
and
make
I'm a
it.
great author, and I'm actually great at finances. I am a genius at finances and investing, but I didn't go to Harvard, never went to Wall Street. So how am I going to get people to invest in me?
How am I going to get people to
Well,
pay attention to me?
if you have a track record and you have good relationships, doing a good job, over time you could get there. But how do you get out of the gate? If you never get your break, you never get there.
Yeah,
So when
'cause
these
it
people
takes
say,
years
oh,
to
well,
build.
I was just faking it till I made it. But once I got their money, I was going to do a great job with it. But then once they get the money, it turns into a Ponzi scheme. So, like I said, honestly, a good lawyer...
Don't they know that eventually it's going to crumble and it's going to end? Don't they? Or they think that they honestly think that they're going to just get away with it forever.
Some people get away with it for way longer than you think.
But then ultimately
And-
it comes to an end.
And they're having one hell of a fun time doing it.
Okay,
Spending
well,
everyone
that's
else's-
the difference, is that
Traveling
they
the
have
world,
fun
going to
hurting
these
people.
conferences, spending everyone else's money,
Yeah.
being someone in society. So, and then, like I
Right.
said, and then they think, and they start hiding money. They start hiding money in foreign countries. Look at the Wolf of Wall Street, for instance. I mean, perfect example of someone who did it at a very high level. Someone who looks like he had a blast to himself and did those things. So, I would say a good example is there are sharks out there trying to get you. And with pro athletes, at least,
So
I think
just
that
know
people
that.
know. But when it comes to entrepreneurs, when it comes to people who think they're doing the right thing, just have a check on it. And if everything sounds perfect, then you know what? If everything sounds great, then why would that person care if you looked into their books? Why would that person care if you investigate them a little bit? Because if everything's above board, then why would they care?
Right.
But when they look fantastic,
Or
and
why
start
wouldn't
talking
they
about-
want an attorney involved?
Exactly.
You said that
Exactly,
earlier. One of the
exactly.
tips that you said earlier is if they say, "Oh, we don't need an attorney," red flag. Right.
And if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Wow.
Period.
Well,
And that sucks because some people get so excited about things, they say, "Oh my gosh, I met this
well, that's what
person."
I'm saying. They have a bias. They want it to work out so bad.
Yeah, you want it to work out so
Yeah.
and you don't want to. And I'll tell you, you don't want to. If you're going 1,000 miles per hour towards a goal, you don't want to see red flags.
Right.
You just don't want to see them. And
Well, and that's
you'll
another
excuse
thing that we
things.
need to talk about another day, or maybe we'll talk about on our podcast, is what are those red flags? I mean, we've said some of them. You've actually said
Right.
some, during your stories and everything. But we'll tune in on that on the podcast. We'll be doing the podcast on the Nova Wealth Show, and the audio version is on iTunes, and then the video version will be on the Wooditch Network, and we'll post it out there and everything. But we have gotten so much good information from you, David. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here and doing this all with
No,
me.
thank you.
Is there any lasting? You want to tell people how to get a hold of you, or any last word? Any last words? Any last tips that you want to say, and then we can wrap this up and we can do the podcast, and then you can listen to the podcast too.
I would say for the athletes and anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, wants to do business, and is excited, is hungry, don't lose that energy. Don't be that person. Just do it in a smart way. And take the time and expense to engage a lawyer when you can, if you think you need to.
Because then you have you might have the opportunity to grow to that number that you wanted to grow to, but you don't want something as frivolous as, like a lawsuit or something that you overlooked because you didn't want to spend, $400 on an attorney or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, well, the bottom line is this: I would say a lawsuit is not fun. We're going to get to know everything about you. We're going to dig into your personal life, your business life, every single thing about you. We're going to find out. And I'll say is do business with good people and get to know them for a while. And
easier said than done.
Yeah, I mean that's true. In the internet age,
that's
we
why I
feel
say
like we
to
know
just
people
consult
so
you.
fast.
Yeah.
Well, I say get a lawyer involved. Me or anyone else who you think can help you. Get a trusted lawyer, and
how can they get a hold of you?
Well, you can Google me. My name is David Lisko, Lisko, and if you just Google David Lisko and Holland and Knight, my info will pop up, and everything, including my cell phone, will pop up. So
you're on LinkedIn.
I'm on LinkedIn. The easiest way is to Google me, and we'll go from there. But so I guess in wrapping things up, I would say for the business people out there, keep doing what you're doing and strive to be the best version of yourself you can be. Grow your business, but just do it in not so much a conservative way, but do it in a way that protect yourself.
Right.
Is don't do something so high risk that you can't protect yourself, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of tragedies where the amount of people I have met who are people in society, who are well off, have a lot of money in the bank, and then their life comes crumbling down when they committed an SEC violation. They might have broken the law. Someone sued them and took their money, or they find out that all their money they thought they had was gone. Is their life comes crumbling down, and inevitably it turns to, what about my kids? What about my future? What am I going to do now?
What now?
What now? And
we don't want ever our clients to look back and say, if I only would have, or if I just wouldn't have written that check, or if I just wouldn't have done this. Like, never looking back on something that could have been prevented.
Yeah,
that's the big
thing. So I was like, follow your gut and don't have blinders on.
There you go.
Eyes wide open. If you see something, check it out, investigate it. Call an attorney.
David Lisko, thank you so much. Again, watch our podcast. Hey, John, we're just wrapping it up. But you can watch the whole thing back. But we're going to have it on our podcast, The Nova Wealth Show. It's on iTunes and the Woodage Network. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you next Friday.
Thank you.